So, believe it or not, shortly after posting my last video, I finally attained enough viewers to qualify for YouTube Community, which is like when you make polls to your subscribers, and I polled you guys, asking you guys what video you wanted to see next, and you guys voted for spring fragrances. So I am here to talk to you today about my current spring fragrance rotation. I want to start with the most inexpensive fragrance that is also the one I've been wearing the most. This is Pakalana by Ua Body. I discovered this fragrance while traveling for work. About a month ago, I was in Hawaii and I was in search of a locally owned, managed, staffed, grown, ethical fragrance brand, and I came across Ua Hawaii, which is all of those things. All their fragrances are based on traditional Hawaiian florals that are used in leis. Most notable to me was that they work with a local conservationist nonprofit organization to ethically source their iliahi, or sandalwood. Hawaiian sandalwood was historically one of the most coveted commodities for the China trade and the Asian trade, like the Trans-Pacific trade. And because of that, it led to the absolute degradation of Hawaii's sandalwood groves. And this nonprofit that Ua Hawaii sources their sandalwood from, they're working on restoring these sandalwood trees sustainably and ethically. That was a huge standout to me because a lot of brands, allegedly Hawaiian or otherwise, will tout the use of sandalwood, but they're either sort of nondescript about where the sandalwood comes from, how they get it, or sometimes it's just not Hawaiian sandalwood. For context, Ua Hawaii's products are the only sandalwood products I have that actually contain Hawaiian sandalwood, which is a crisper, cleaner, and more floral profile than its counterparts like Indian sandalwood and Australian sandalwood. So this was a really rare opportunity to experience Hawaiian sandalwood, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for Ua Hawaii. I walked all the way to their flagship store in the Ala Moana Center, which was like an hour and a half walk from where I was staying, and I don't regret it at all. The sales representative was so kind. I couldn't decide what fragrance I wanted to get, and she told me, don't make the decision yet, since you're here for a few days, spray everything on yourself, try it out, and then make a decision afterwards. And it's not like I was gonna drop like $300 or whatever. Their products are really quite affordable. They're all in the 20s, 30s, 40s range. After I returned from Hawaii, I ended up ordering so many more of Ua Body's products online, and I won't harp on and on about them now just because I know I'm gonna be mentioning them so many more times. But for now, what does Pakalana smell like? Well, let's start with what Pakalana is. Pakalana is the Hawaiian name for something called Chinese violet, which is this flower that, believe it or not, originates from China. I mentioned before that one of the most coveted items during the China trade in the 18th and 19th centuries mostly was iliahi, Hawaiian sandalwood. Conversely, a lot of the early Chinese laborers and plantation workers that settled in Hawaii brought with them Chinese violet, which Native Hawaiians ended up incorporating into leis. So now it's considered like a very prominent flower in Hawaii. But it's not powdery like a conventional violet. It does have powdery facets, but it also has some indolic facets, like jasmine. Yeah, I mean, it smells floral, it smells green and a little bit peppery. uplifting, and it is like night and day, all seasons, versatile. I kid you not, I wore Pakalana as my signature scent for like 2 entire weeks after coming back from Hawaii, which I don't think I've ever been able to maintain a single signature scent for that long. So this is saying a lot. It smells like someone who is kind, someone who is wise, but also always positive and optimistic. Also, this fragrance does contain a little bit of sandalwood, and what is really notable about this brand is that they are actually alcohol free. So rather than alcohol, they use something called sandalwood hydrosol, which is good for your skin, it's good for your hair. They say you can even use it on your face. I have very sensitive facial skin, so I tend to not use anything on my face but my usual skincare, but I've sprayed this on my arms and legs, I've sprayed this in my hair, and it is great every time. The one thing I will say is that because it's all natural ingredients, it's not gonna last you a lifetime. In my hair, it lasts probably like 5-6 hours, maybe even a little longer in my hair. I think it tends to, you know, hang on to my hair, but in my skin, maybe 3 hours, so you'll have to respray after that. But I think these are like $30 or so. I told you I just completely started hoarding Ua body products, but what ended up happening was I started wearing their Pakalana body lotion after a shower at night, and then the next morning I spray Pakalana body mist all over, and I am not a super generous sprayer, so when I say all over, I mean like 5 sprays tops. And then I layer with Pakalana roller oil. They have roller fragrances as well, which are pure fragrance oils and therefore last longer than the sprays. But anyways, once I did that, it did last me all day. And it cost, I think, less than $100 to get all 3 of those products. And so I love Ua Body. I'll be talking about them again. Next fragrance I want to talk about is Diptyque Eau Rose. Demi Relling has spoken quite a lot about this one lately, and I very much agree with the way that she's described it. It is kind of this more versatile, office-friendly counterpart almost to Delina or Hermes Rose Rhubarb. It's this tart rose, but much heavier on this sort of young spring rose and a little bit lighter on the tartness. I don't know if it claims to have a note of rhubarb, but I certainly smell kind of that a little bit of a crisp tartness to it. It smells like a freshly bloomed rose in the middle of a sunrise. Maybe the sun is glinting off the petals, lending it just a hint of warmth. There's dewdrops on the petals, little bits of grass, fresh green grass nearby, a little bit of pepperiness, and of course the rhubarb. So this is probably my second most worn scent after Pakalana since spring sprung. Now, if you're looking for a spring vanilla for those spring nights or evenings, I'm a huge fan of Vanilla Sky. Again, this is nothing extraordinary. I think most vanilla fragrances are not extraordinary to me, but that's a good thing because they're more wearable and they're more likable. I've had this bottle for probably, I think I got it in 2021, so I've had it for 5 years now. Again, if you keep fragrances in a cool, dark place, they will smell exactly the same, maybe even better due to maceration. What I like about Skylar Vanilla Sky is that it is this perfect middle-of-the-road vanilla fragrance. What do I mean by that? I think most vanilla fragrances, they are either sort of too cloyingly sweet or too green to be compatible for everyday wear. Now, I think a vanilla fragrance that is fitting for spring and autumn, which are these more middle-of-the-road seasons, tend to also, in my mind, be fitting for everyday wear. So what makes Skylar good, Vanilla Sky good for the spring and also compatible as an everyday vanilla is that it is victim to neither of these pitfalls, okay? It is in no way too cloyingly sweet, and it is also not too green. It has a little bit of both. It has this caramelized cedar note, and I think compared to some of the other heavier woods, like oud or Gaiac, cedar tends to be a more greeny, uplifting, musky wood, and that's what gives it just a tad bit of greenness, but it's also not cloying, okay? Like, it has this cakey, warm vanilla extract energy, but it's really balanced out by the lighter musky cedar and also this bitterness of what smells almost like fresh coffee beans. Not like a whole, sweet, thick latte, but almost kind of like something more airy, like a macchiato, or even like a lightly sweetened Americano or something. It's this airy, fresh coffee, not this sweet, cloying coffee. And that's Skylar Vanilla Sky. So the logic that I just applied to Skylar Vanilla Sky, I think also much applies to the next scent I'm going to talk about, which is Kayali Yum Pistachio Gelato. This is currently my favorite Kayali. It's been my favorite Kayali for a really long time. I don't really see that changing for me. I have a massive Kayali collection, by the way, so let me know if you want me to ever make a Kayali video. The reason this reminds me of Vanilla Sky is it's because this also walks the middle road for a perfect everyday and therefore spring compatible pistachio. Now, pistachio perfumes, I think, have a similar conundrum as vanilla perfumes, which is that they're often either too sweet and cloying or they are way too green. I like both of those types of pistachio, right? But I would not wear either of them every day, and I would not probably make either of them a scent that I am always reaching for in the spring. They're more sort of like novelties. What I like about the Kayali pistachio is that it is almost a little bit musky and citrusy and floral. The pistachio is always undergirding the sillage, but the sillage itself smells a little bit floral, ever so slightly citrusy, and a little bit green. It kind of smells like a pistachio gelato that has been topped with some like white flower petals and citrus zest or something like that. It's actually like very aromatic. I don't know if a random person approached me, if they'd be like, wow, that's a pistachio. I don't think so. I think it's so masterfully crafted. It smells like a fragrance, okay? It smells like a fragrance, but it is always undergirded by this pistachio base. It's almost like if someone took a classic chypre and substituted the patchouli or the woods for pistachio instead. Like, the pistachio is doing the work of grounding and anchoring the fragrance, but it's not what the fragrance is all about. Now, last but not least, I have a classic Tom Ford Jasmin Rouge. I don't know what else to say about this besides that it is like Jasmin aristocracy. It smells like old money, but it also smells like that music video from Taylor Swift's Red album, Begin Again. It smells like Begin Again. It smells like new beginnings, a fresh start, recognizing your worth that's always been there, but maybe you've forgotten it after being bogged down by some toxic relationship, and suddenly you're rediscovering your worth, you're rediscovering your heritage, you're channeling that power and taking your time and just being you, meeting new people, being authentic, while holding on to your newfound confidence that has at the same time always been there. I don't know if that makes sense, but that concludes my video for today, and let me know what you want to see from me next, and let me know if you've tried any of these. Let me know what you like for the spring for yourself, and keep an eye out for my polls, because if I don't get enough suggestions in the comments, I'll probably just poll you guys again and see what you guys want to see next. And then, of course, let me know if you want another part 2 spring video.